is Lady Boulay, and I hope you are having a wonderful day. I want to thank all of my subscribers for joining me on this channel. I am grateful and humbled by your support. I started this channel because I wanted to focus on African American culture and history. Information is powerful. Our culture is rich, it's vibrant, and it's relevant. But it was born out of pain and suffering. Still, it was that pain and suffering that validate us as bona fide American citizens. So it is troubling when things happen in the world to diminish or marginalize us. So today's topic comes from current event, and that was the current event of Meghan Markle and Oprah Winfrey sitting down and Meghan Markle talking about her experience in the British royal family. Now, on the face of it, it might seem like, well, that really doesn't have a lot to do with African Americans because Meghan Markle is a mixed race woman. Meghan Markle is also a part of the African American story. Her mother is a descendant of slavery. So that makes her a part of the African American story. And when something happens like what she was discussing, it is appropriate to talk about it within the context of the African American story. And because the details were so troubling, I'm entitling this video 7 Reasons Why Meghan Markle Should Run for the Hills. Number 1 is the British press. The British press was always going to be a problem with this couple. They have what they call the Royal Rota, and it is a pool of journalists from 7 newspapers, and their job is to go inside the royal family engagements wherever they are that day and report to the British public on what they're doing. You can see the Queen in her colorful designer outfits with her matching hat and a pocketbook on her arm. She's walking about, smiling, shaking hands, receiving flowers, and giving the British people feel-good moments. But they also have another side of it where they pit one family member against the other. And whoever the most popular person is of the moment is the one who gets the worst treatment. The name of the game is to sell newspapers. They're always looking for that big story or that picture that's going to go viral and make them a lot of money. Meghan coming in as an American, a divorcee, an actress, and a woman of biracial heritage was fodder and fuel for the British press. There was no way that they were not going to exploit that. And they did so right away. Almost every headline every day about her was negative. It was an attack on her character. It was an attack on her being as a human being. They were always going to be a problem for her. The second reason that Meghan Markle should have run for the hills away from the royal family is the royal handlers. Overseeing the Queen's household is the Lord Chamberlain. Lord Chamberlain is the most senior officer of the royal family. He supervises all of the departments and is a huge staff, but he's over everybody. He provides advice to the Queen. He is also the main channel of communication between the Queen and the House of Lords. The House of Lords is the aristocratic body of the British Parliament. So this man is very powerful. Based on what's written about the British royal family, the Lord Chamberlain and his posse of men in suits decide who stays and who goes in the British royal family. And Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York, who was married to Prince Andrew, was a likable free spirit in her own right. She was basically told, according to tabloids, you are not fit to be a British royal princess. They wanted her out, and they didn't rest until they ran her out. Harry's mother, Princess Diana, could not stand these people. So with this track record, Meghan's days were numbered. And though the Queen had given her permission for Meghan and Harry to marry, she has to give her consent for any member of the British royal family to marry. That didn't stop those suits from operating behind the scene. They wanted Harry in, but they wanted Meghan out. So her days were numbered. The third reason why Meghan Markle should have run for the hills and away from the British royal family was her own family. I think we all saw that train wreck. And you almost don't have to say anything except it was like Jed Clampett and Granny had shown up as Meghan Markle's family. It was just embarrassing for everybody to watch, and I think many of us were embarrassed for her. She said that she didn't even know these people. She knew her father, but the sister and the brother she didn't even know. All of a sudden now they're going to be players in her life, and there's just no words. There's just no words. It was a disaster to have this dysfunctional family dynamic playing out as she was being elevated to the global stage. It was another reason for her to rethink marrying into a high profile international family. The fourth reason that Meghan Markle should have steered clear of the royal family was that wedding. I watched that wedding and almost immediately I felt funny about that wedding. I've always watched the royal weddings because they are entertainment for me. But that wedding was very uncomfortable to watch. During the ceremony, when the black preacher was up doing his black preacher thing, the camera switched to Prince Charles's wife Camilla and Kate Middleton, and they were sitting there snickering as if they were making fun of him. The American press commented on that, but I noticed it during the ceremony and it made me very uncomfortable. But the main person at that wedding that I noticed was Meghan Markle's mother. She looked very sad. She sat there at one point by herself, looking lonely and sad. Meghan Markle's mother has family members. Why wasn't at least one of those family members welcomed to sit with her at that wedding? That was problematic for me. And a few weeks earlier, her mother, it was reported, was going to do an interview with Oprah Winfrey in which she spoke about the racism that Meghan was experiencing. But the suits at Buckingham Palace discouraged her from speaking to the press. But Meghan's mother, Doria Ragland, did not look happy at that wedding. Now, the next thing might seem like a small point, but these small points add up to be big points. Another thing about that wedding, normally when the Queen's children, grandchildren get married, they go to the church, they have the big wedding, then they come back and they come out on the balcony and the couple waves from the balcony, and then the crowd, which is usually huge, will start saying, "We want the Queen. We want the Queen," where the Queen is standing behind the door waiting for the crowd to call for her, and then the Queen comes out, and then they have a big moment where they're waving to the crowd. Sometimes they'll have a flyover, but it's a big moment. This time, they did not have the balcony scene. I consulted a royal family website, and they said that they don't always come on the balcony. Prince Edward didn't come on the balcony when he got married, and neither did either of Princess Anne's children. But most of the time, they come on the balcony. So my question was, did Harry and Meghan have that option? And the answer they gave was inconclusive. Number 5, the main and number one reason why Meghan Markle should have run away from the royal family is the history of the British royal family. Nobody has played a greater role in the destruction of Africa, African people, and African descended people than the British. For over 150 years, the British royal family not only owned slaves, but they monopolized the slave trade. John Hawkins was the first established English slave trader. Between 1562 and 1567, he made such lucrative profits that he was supported by Queen Elizabeth I, who showed her investment by donating 2 of her own ships, the Jesus of Lubbock and the Minion. This man and his crew went into West Africa, kidnapped, captured, shackled Africans, put them on those slave ships, and sold them at market. The British have a long history of plundering, pillaging, and ravishing the African continent, and to this day they can't get rid of them. Furthermore, during the years 1884 through 1885, leaders of European countries met in Berlin, Germany for the Berlin Conference. There they carved up Africa, each European country taking control of an African country or territory, controlling the people and the natural resources. The British and the French are the main colonizers, and what they're doing to this day is controlling the natural resources of Africa. This is the history and the present of the relationship between the British people and people of African descent. For however much African ancestry Meghan Markle has, she has been treated by the British royal family like a full-blooded African. It would have been wise for her to respect history and govern herself accordingly. The sixth reason why Meghan Markle should have run for the hills and away from the British royal family is Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. Prince Philip has a long history of making insensitive and racist remarks towards Africans and other non-white people. In 1986, during a visit to China, a British newspaper reported that he told some British exchange students, "If you stay here much longer, you will all be slitty-eyed." The British press writes that he has been caught multiple times on camera making degrading comments during his many tours of the Commonwealth. The British Commonwealth is made up primarily of black and brown people, so you would think he would have a little more respect. The number 7 and last reason why Meghan Markle should have run for the hills and away from the British royal family is the British people themselves. It is true that she has a lot of support among the British people, but I would not say it was the majority. If you look at any social media platform where she is being discussed, it would just make you sick. The things that they say about her, the urban legends, and just out lies, they just sound like lies. And they are spewing that all day, every day. At one point, I tried to defend her, but you will spend all day long people coming back with stuff that makes absolutely no sense. They're saying about her, the character assassination, and this is coming from the British people. It is coming from some Americans too, but most of this is coming from them. The assassination that they have on her character, it's just deplorable. So the British people do this because they don't see her as being a part of their royal family. And then they can do this and not see it as being racist. They are in total denial about the fact. You can ask any African, anybody from the Caribbean, and they will tell you that racism is alive and well in the UK. There is racism in America, and everybody knows it. The whole world will talk about the racism in America because we, African Americans, will speak up and it'll be shown around the world. Also, white Americans will admit that racism exists in America. They may not want to do anything about it, but they will admit that it exists. The British won't admit that. And rather than admit it, they gaslight the situation by blaming whatever the problem is on the person who says there is racism there. And that is what happened to Meghan. So the British people were always going to be a problem for Meghan. They like their royal family the way it is, looking like them or the way they perceive themselves to be. It is not so hard to understand why Meghan Markle would have wanted to marry into the British royal family. To be a princess, to live in palaces and castles where you have servants attending to your every wish, to be able to ride around in carriages or buggies, waving and looking cute, and having people make a big deal over you, bowing and curtsying to you just because you showed up. That has to be an exhilarating feeling. And to be a part of that must be very appealing. But as we live in the real world, we have to look at cold hard facts. The system that the British royal family represents was built on the backs of our ancestors and the continent from which we came. In my mind, it is insane for an African or African descended person, regardless of how much African ancestry you have, if you have noticeable African ancestry, it is insane for you to think that you're going to go up into a system like that and be accepted or respected. Our best hope is to embrace who we are, to build from the inside out, and not go into other races of people trying to be accepted by what they have built for themselves, even though what they have built for themselves was at our expense. It's troubling to me that, given the history of the British royal family, that she could have gone up in that family and enjoyed herself had they not rejected her. Knowing the history and knowing her history and her ancestry, that she could have gone up in there and been comfortable, that's a little bit disturbing too to me. So what's the real takeaway here? For me, it is there is no hiding place. There is nowhere for us to go. There is no place for us to run to. The racism that we face in America, and America is pretty much like, okay, yeah, we are, that's what we are, but we're a young country and we're still trying to form a more perfect union. As for Meghan Markle, there were signs. There were signs that she was walking into a lion's den. I wish that she had taken the time to do more research and to see what it was she was really getting herself into. I want to make the point that I am not trying to claim her as a black woman. I respect the fact that she identifies as a mixed race woman. But the problem, the trauma that she is going through is directly due to her African ancestry. And that's why I'm comfortable speaking on it. So how hard is it for us to gain some self-respect and some self-awareness, to see the world for what it is and deal with it for what it is? How do you lose yourself and become so despondent that you would consider killing yourself over an institution that was designed to destroy you in the first place? This story has not finished playing out. Fortunately, Meghan has support, particularly in the black community. But this is not over. She entered into a powerful institution that is not designed to work to her benefit. When this relationship with Harry started, I laughingly said to one of my friends, she's going to wish she had never laid eyes on those people. I've studied these people for a long time, and they rarely lose. I hope for her sake and for the sake of her family that things will work out for Meghan.